pronoun conversation. What pronouns are we using? The transgender conversation, abortion conversation, gay rights conversation. All these are important, but if you look closely at what's happening, the races, black against white, Christian against Muslim, Jew against Muslim, the rich against the poor, these are all really important conversations that go right to the gut, man. They cut right to the core of our most primal instincts. They're important conversations. They have been skillfully weaponized to divide us and keep us separate from one another, to break the social bonds that have always kept families and communities and societies and nations together. We're allowing ourselves to be played, to be pawns in this ancient game. The differences that we used to celebrate as our strength have now become the differences that are being used, being weaponized to divide us and keep us in our fear.
Welcome to Can We Agree, a book club where two friends read one Jewish and one Palestinian author to discuss war, tragedy, and solutions with honesty and respect.
So I, Kara, think Israel is terrible.
I, Nathan, think Israel is understandably terrible.
And what we're moving towards is, how do we move on?
Because I see this conflict as a microcosm of the world.
And I see this conflict as a microcosm of the world.
First, let's uncover what shaped their opposing views.
I'm sympathetic to the Palestinian media because I'm getting on Instagram and I'm watching body bags and limbs and fires and women screaming. And I'm just like, what is this malarkey? Like, why is this acceptable and permissible on earth? And then I am looking at the Israeli state and saying, you're responsible for this.
I feel that if we do not recognize why Israel does the things that it does, then we fail to hold all the parties accountable. I have a grandfather who was kicked out of Czechoslovakia for being Jewish. I have family from Israel because for some of them that was the only place they could go. Yet I was raised in a pretty powerfully anti-Israel community. My stance on Palestinians changed when my friend told me to distrust propaganda, and I believed him and trusted him for a couple of different reasons. One was because he really cares, and the other is because he himself was Palestinian and his family was communist and therefore ran up against the authority in Palestine and had to leave and come to America. So that was when I started to look into the propaganda from both sides. And that leads me to where I am today, which is trying to understand how can we look at this problem from both sides.
I'm firmly very disturbed by the war against Palestinian lives that I am plugged into. So I think that makes me anti-Israel. But at the same time, I'm friends with you, Nathan, and you have taught me about the racism against Jewish people historically. So I'm cautious to not be dense or to be vapid or to be easily persuaded to scapegoat Jewish people. That's a part of why I want to do this podcast with you, because there are books I haven't read and there's knowledge I don't have, and I'm willing to just become smarter on the issue. You called me out for being sympathetic to propaganda. In that moment, I checked myself and I was like, am I privy to any Jewish points of views, any Jewish authors, any centrist authors? And the answer was no.
When Black people are forced to do terrible things, there is a reason. We cannot just sum up that Black people are terrible. And I feel very similarly about Israel. We need to really understand, why is Israel doing the terrible things that it does if we want to be able to move forward and create a world together that allows Israel to be the best version of itself, or more specifically, allows the Israeli people to be the best version of themselves as individuals, no matter if Israel or Palestine exists, or if we just go into one big human earth government, or thousands and thousands and thousands of micro communities. This is about understanding, how do we move forward.
So this episode is titled, Can We Agree on a Name for This Podcast and the Authors Will Read? Because the next portion is Kara and Nathan at the public library trying to agree on just that.
I knew you didn't stop it. I could see it there. I knew you hadn't done it yet.
No, I am. So if we go to the page that says...
Yeah, because I haven't read your questions.
Yeah. All right, so read my question.
Okay, Kara's question. Can we both shape our appreciation of the loss and its lasting impact on Palestinian identity, culture, and their views on the conflict? Do you know how the experiences of exile, loss, and resistance in the Israel-Palestine conflict shape the perspective of Palestinians, and how might that influence views on the conflict as a whole?
So my question is, can we both shape our appreciation? Because it's both, because like outside of my sympathizing with the media that I see on Instagram, I haven't read a book about it.
Yeah.
So I need to shape my appreciation of being able to be fluent about the loss and like, what is it? What happened? When did it happen? Why did it happen? For me, the question that these 3 books would answer or get to is just, am I first foundationally able to even talk about Palestine and that 1948 era where Israel started to come into being? Do I even have any knowledge about it? And then the answer would be no, but these 3 books would help me to have that knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting.
The 3 books, it's called The Secret Life of Said, the Pessimist.
Okay.
A satirical novel that offers a critique of Palestinian society under Israeli occupation, blending humor and tragedy to depict the absurdities of life for Palestinians living under constant oppression.
That sounds like a good book.
And I put it at top because it's satirical, and I know you like jokes.
I do like jokes. Yeah.
The next one is Mornings in Jenin, Susan Abul Hawab. Novel that follows a Palestinian family through multiple generations from the 1948 Nakba expulsion of Palestinians to the present. It offers a personal, emotional account of the Palestinian struggle, loss, and resilience. And the third, I saw Ramallah, poignant memoir by a poet. I chose it because it's a poet.
Nice.
Who returns to his homeland after decades of exile, examines the impact of Israeli occupation on his homeland and the profound emotional and political toll of his displacement.
Yeah.
So that's it. What do you think?
I think that they're good. I think it's all good starting points. I mean, there's no wrong way to begin, especially because we both are starting from a place of not really knowing. You know,
Do you think you're starting from a place of not knowing?
I think I know far more about that's the difference, right? So your perspective is that Israel is terrible. You know, if we're right. Mine is that Israel is understandably terrible.
Yeah.
So what I know is I understand why Israel is doing some of the things that it's doing, but I wouldn't say that I have a solid understanding of specifics.
Specifics on the why that Israel is doing what it's doing?
Specifics on exactly what Israel is doing.
Okay. And that was my intuition.
Yeah.
My inkling.
I certainly know more than you, and I would say I certainly know more than the average American, but...
On the why.
Yeah, on the why and probably the what, but I feel pretty strongly.
But the what you would be assuming. You would just, because you know a lot about war in general, so you're probably assuming the what? Or you're no, I read about the what.
I know about, kind of the gist of the narratives of, Israel cutting off water to villages. I mean, essentially...
And that's what I don't know a lot about.
Israel making life so difficult that Palestinian people want to leave.
Okay.
Which I think is when people compare Israel and the Nazis, I think that is in particular how I see a valid comparison. Because you and I have spoken, I don't believe that I don't believe Israel is actually trying to murder every single Palestinian person. I think once a Palestinian person leaves the land, leaves what they want Israel to be, they have no fucks to give. Because Israel, I don't really think has any aims to eliminate Palestinians in America. You know, I mean, certainly prevent return. I think branches of Israel's government and individuals in Israel who do hold power want to keep Palestinians from returning. But I don't think that it's the same whereas the Nazis, where their goal was to actually exterminate every single Jew across the world. And, not just the Jews in Europe, but they were planning to exterminate Jews everywhere they went and hid. So I think that those are two very different things. But it is true that Hitler prior to the Holocaust, because the Holocaust started, what we think of the Holocaust started in the 1940s. But Hitler came to power in 1933. And Hitler's first, 1933, maybe 1932 is when he was like first kind of got a political seat. And then, I think really took over in 1933. But his first policy was make life so horrible for Jews that they want to leave.
Okay.
And he did start murdering Jews right out the gate. I mean, there's a lot of people, communist propaganda says that he was focused on communists. A lot of the communists were Jews. German propaganda will say that, he was murdering, just political dissidents. A lot of those political dissidents were Jews. A lot of people try to skirt around the targeting of Jews. But yeah, like right off the bat, he did start murdering Jews in concentration camps. It wasn't the Holocaust, because the Holocaust we're talking about when they start murdering like 60,000 Jews a day. But it was like, okay, you get a Jew a day murdered, or like a Jew a month, a Jew a week, that kind of thing. So, but and then it escalates over time.
So I want to be able to agree that Nazis in Israel share that they are one tactic is to make life so unlivable.
Yeah, that you want to leave.
And I want to agree, but I haven't read.
But you don't know.
So that's why my question is, can we both shape our appreciation for what is going on in Palestine? And the reason I start my sentence with I want to agree, because as we go to the bottom of the page, we're going to talk about the branding and the title of this podcast. Yay!
The bottom of this page?
The bottom of the whole document.
Oh, thank you.
It's under branding.
Branding. Okay.
I want to title this Can We Agree? I want there to be cohesiveness in the title. So if it's Can We Agree, it gives us like, it tells the listener what the episode is about. Like, can we agree that insert what you and I are learning about? I want it to feel like the point of the pod is for there to be some sort of consensus, so that we can like move, like, okay, we agree that this kind of like being in a relationship is like, okay, we agree that we want to live together, but we haven't agreed on, do you get a man cave or what color the walls will be on?
Yeah.
And we know what we agree on, and we know what's left to discuss.
I mean, I totally get what you're going on. Also, it makes some good uniformity between the episode titles. It reminds me of Friends. Every single episode of Friends starts with the one where one.
That's all I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
One of my favorite podcasts is called Not For Everyone. And it's just like, not for Beyonce's Super Bowl, not for Friends being weird. I'm not for. And it's like, are you for that? It's like, I'm not for that performance. I did not like it. Another one by a comedian named Zainab is the Reasonable podcast. And then she's like, was Trump's speech reasonable today? Or is wearing socks with your Crocs reasonable?
Sure.
And then the whole podcast is about whatever she wants to be about, but it's just it's revolving around this thing. It's gimmicky and it's sticky, but I think it helps.
Like how you said sticky.
Sticky.
You made it sound like sticky, but like
Jewish.
Yeah.
Sticky. And then I think it also functionally gives you and I our focus point. Like this week we're talking about, we're trying to agree on this today.
Yeah.
And I can be like, no, I think you're still wrong. It's like we couldn't agree. Or you haven't educated me enough that, I do agree.
If we can't agree,
do
we carry it on into a new episode?
I don't know. That's a good question.
We'll leave that as a possible option, not a guaranteed. I don't want to get sidetracked. My worry would be that I feel some sort of righteousness, or I feel so strongly about something that I'm not willing to let it go, and then I get weird about it. I don't necessarily think that's a guarantee, but that's a worry that I think is valid.
I think it's okay that we don't agree in that case, that we just don't agree.
Me too.
But I think if not your point, then but can we agree that blank? And it's like we can agree on that.
Yeah.
Something adjacent.
Oh,
or
interesting.
something.
Like finding something we can agree on. I like that a lot. Like in the process of can we agree on this, we find something we can agree on, and then we can build off of that. That sounds productive.
Because if our big goal is to showcase to people conversations as a means to resolve conflict, then the only way that happens is if everybody agrees to something. So it's like we don't know what we're going to end up agreeing on.
Sure.
But that's the whole point, is like through conversation, we figure out what our common ground is. And hopefully that's what we can form a bond around to move forward. Because I think in our About Us section, it says, so I, Kara, think Israel is terrible. And I, Nathan, think Israel is understandably terrible. And what we're moving towards is how do we move on? So if we're going to move on, we have to do it on a basis of something we agree on. So this whole exploration is like, okay, by the end of this, we should have a list of things that we agree on. And that should be the basis of how we move forward. Can we agree that the way this conflict should end is in a two-party state? That might be an episode.
That'd probably be a bunch of episodes.
It could be one episode. Because mine isn't elaborate. Mine is like, yup, it should be. Then you could be if you're like, I do too, that's the end of the episode. And we agree. It's not the how, it's that we agree that is what we want to see.
I'm really fascinated. One of the things I definitely want to look at is, I would say a lot of the propaganda from the Israel's establishment is that they've tried to make peace over and over and over again. And I think
so one episode, can we agree that we want to see peace? That's the episode. But then the next one can be like, can we agree that Israel has tried to make that peace?
Yeah, which I mean,
and then we can explore that.
Yeah,
and be like, we can't.
We can't. Yeah, or we agree that they haven't. Or we agree that they have, but there's this nuance.
Yeah. You see the vision?
I do see the vision.
Good for these two. They've come to agree on a name, but the question is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much of a piece of shit are these two?
I know. Also, we're going to butcher some pronunciations.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just going to happen, I'm pretty I'm pretty okay with it, but
what makes you say you're okay with it?
I've realized that
you're a piece of shit.
I mean, I've realized that a lot of people are a piece of shit is a piece of shit, and I the beholder. You know what I mean?
I think you said, and I am the beholder.
No,
why are you holding pieces of shit?
No, that'd be wild. Yeah. That sounds fantastical. But, you don't they say that you don't make fun of a
dying cop.
No, I was going to say a Mexican person who has a funny accent.
Yeah.
The way I phrase that right off the bat is kind of cracking me up. But they say, don't make fun of a Mexican who has an accent. Don't be hard on people who, English is their second language. Well, Hebrew and Arabic are not my first language. So it's like, don't be hard on me.
Yeah.
I'm not here with the express purpose to not give a fuck. But there's a lot of shit we're going to be looking up.
Yeah.
And maybe we don't, we also have lives, and maybe we don't have time to Google the correct pronunciation.
I will Google when I can, just because as a podcast listener, I'm always impressed when people do it correctly. And they say that they practice. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna
So
I'm gonna be good like you.
I for sure. Sometimes when I Google names, I don't know if you've ever experienced this. I can't find a definitive pronunciation of the name. And I'm like, okay, all right.
Same.
Yeah, that's definitely happened to me as well. So I'm gonna say we'll give it our best shot.
Okay, so where were we? Okay, so we got that name down. Can we agree? We got the right. What do you think is next in our song? Oh wait, I'll tell you about the recording schedule.
Oh yeah. I suppose I'll start plugging some of these books in and see if which one you want to start with? Let's start with one of yours. Which one you want to start with? Are you okay starting with one of yours?
Thank you for asking.
Your dad, you're so welcome.
Yes, I'm okay with it.
Okay.
I think we should actually take out all three. Like I don't know the three. I would like to read like a paragraph of each and figure out which book I wouldn't hate reading.
Oh, how about
like I want to see what the writing style is like.
Yes. I'm curious. Yes.
I feel like a satire. We don't need satire right now because I feel like once we kind of grow our knowledge of what's going on, then we can read a satirical version of it.
Sure. I don't think it's satire in the way that you're thinking, because it says under Israeli blending humor and tragedy. I think it's like, look at how absurd everything is. Like, this is so, like, it's like, this is so ridiculous. But you know what I was going to say also is that I believe when you look up one of these books in the library,
they have a little sample.
I was going to say.
They do in the Libby. They have a listen to a sample.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I was going to say maybe just reviews, but, well, a lot of these reviews are in Arabic. I wasn't expecting that. Like Arabic script.
Mornings and Janine.
You know, looking at the reviews for The Secret Life of Said, somebody says, The Secret Life of Said, the Pesoptimist, is a sobering and often depressing look at Israel's conquering and occupation of Palestine. He puts conquering in quotes, wherein the roles of conqueror and conquered are clearly delineated and deeply entrenched. Not sure what delineated means, but
delineate means to explicate.
Great. Give me a short little definition.
Like,
explicate.
Explain.
Thank you. Are clearly explained and deeply attractive. Okay.
Delineate, to describe or portray something precisely.
Gotcha. But the really interesting point that he makes is that, where are we? Something seems lost in this English translation. There are moments of absolute brilliance in Habibi's work that manage to break through.
This is a translated book.
Yeah, I wish I could read Arabic so that I could truly appreciate Emil Habibi's great work of art.
Right, because satire is subtle, and then if it's not translated well.
When I was reading history on, you know, because I was trying to figure out more about Czechoslovakia to understand more about my family's history.
Pizza after that?
Yes. I was trying to understand more about Czechoslovakia. Where do you want to get pizza?
It's the ADHD for me.
Yeah.
No clue. We'll figure it out later.
Okay. So as I was trying to learn more about it, I did find that there's this little narrative that, particularly there was this British woman who learned Czech, the language. She learned Czech so that she could read Czech history written by Czech historians, because she found that the portrayal of Czech history in English translations was very different than what actual Czech people who weren't speaking English were saying. And I find that to be really, really fascinating.
That's fascinating or like diabolical.
Yeah, that's going to be, I mean, the whole world, like, this is the thing, right? The whole world is, in my opinion, kind of run on propaganda. That's what a lot of our wars are based on, because
and for that reason, we're not reading Said. So we're moving on to Mornings of Janine.
Okay. Well, no, I don't want to. This is going to be a constant. You want to read a memoir? This is going to be a constant issue.
Oh.
Like, that's, I'm bringing this up because.
That's fair.
All
these people have last names that give. Yes, these will all be translations. And not necessarily.
Every person who writes in English is going to be like is a little bit of a self-selected person. I don't think it really defines who they are. as a person, but I think that it does. It just kind of pigeonholes us a little bit in terms of what information we can absorb.
Okay, so let's just learn Arabic and Hebrew.
In Hebrew, that'd be really.
Let's start there.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I hear what you're saying.
So just something to consider moving forward. Like, I just want us to be aware of the difficulties that we will have, that everyone who is like us, everyone who isn't Palestinian, everyone who isn't Israeli is kind of inherently going up against. Yeah. And just be aware. I don't want it to be a setback or something that we feel
But what is the thing we're going up against? Is it a poor translations, or is it like what is the issue?
Yeah, I think it's gonna.
Because I'm just like, if they translated the text, then we can read the text. Like, what is the issue?
I think that it's gonna be the translator has a certain amount of power over the text.
But and unless you're bilingual, you can't check the English version and say,
exactly,
I don't want my book translated like that.
Yes.
You don't know what they're translating for.
That
real.
is 100% the
Let's find an author that's bilingual but decided to write in Arabic.
Yeah, that's actually a really good idea. So, you want to start with this?
Well, first let's see what's the deal with the Janine author. Like, who is Susan Abul Hawa?
Yeah, but also, do we want to start with maybe not a novel? Although there is a lot of information you can learn from novels.
Right.
You know, there's a lot you can get from a novel, but and it's clearly portrayed as a book that's like intentionally like
a
history book. So a novel's not going to necessarily have footnotes. Again, not really sure. I'm speaking out of my butt because I've never seen this book, Mornings and Janine.
Right, a novel is anecdotal.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, we're reading 2 books at a time.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a good point. Is the Palestinian book going to be a novel or not? But we will also read your selection at the same time.
Yeah.
And that might be a history book. I want it to be a novel. I want to be moved, and I'm going to be moved by a novel. But I'm able to learn something in a novel and then go substantiate it with outside resources. Like, if you need to bring in some an article or a paper
1,000%
to understand this chapter of the novel, that's fine.
Yeah. I mean, we for sure need historical, sourced information, absolutely.
But I would rather my questions arise from a narrative, and then me go find the historical piece that makes the narrative make better sense to me.
I'm okay with starting with that one.
And then we gotta figure out the Jewish text to start with. So the idea is, if we chose like the novel that follows the Palestinian family through multiple generations, from the Nakba, which is the expulsion of them, to the present, I would like your book to be speaking to the same thing, but from the Jewish perspective.
Speaking to the Nakba, but from the Jewish perspective. Okay.
Because that'll make things
text you that so I remember.
I think so. Because if our idea is to agree on something, it will help if we're reading similar time period or similar topic. Not even time period, topic.
Yeah. So speaking to the Nakba, but from the Israeli perspective. Yeah. Okay.
Because we're trying to agree on something around the Nakba.
And we are gonna, I'm not gonna be super strict about it, but we should be careful about when we use Jew and Israeli.
Yeah.
I think that's probably.
Are we partying?
Respectful.
Are you leaving?
Well, you want to get some pizza?
No, I want to keep talking about this.
Oh, sure. You want to get some coffee?
I'll watch you get coffee.
You'll watch me get coffee? Okay.
What we really need is Bluetooth lapel mic that is recording both of us. And we just put it on our little shirts.
Okay.